Next news. Breaking news from the White House.
Breaking news from the White House briefing room. The president making remarks right now. However, James Comey has been subpoenaed, the former FBI director who smirked his way through years of congressional hearings, who admitted on camera to sending agents to ambush Michael Flynn, finally being dragged into a Florida courtroom. And folks, he's not alone. 130 subpoenas have gone out, and the deep state's worst nightmare is finally here. Now, let me tell you why this matters to you. You see, for 8 years, we watched these people weaponize the FBI against the sitting president. They spied on his campaign, they leaked to the media, they manufactured the Russia hoax from whole cloth, and when we demanded accountability, nothing. The D.C. courts protected them. The Virginia juries shielded them. They laughed at us, they told us we were conspiracy theorists. Well, who's laughing now? It's not just about Comey, this is about whether America is a nation of laws or a nation where the powerful do whatever they want and never face consequences. President Trump promised justice, and today, from right here at the White House, I can tell you justice is finally being delivered. And speaking of fighting back against forces that want to bring you down, I have to share something very personal with you. You see, for years, my wife struggled with chronic pain and anxiety, endless appointments, little relief, and it was heartbreaking to watch. Then we discovered red light therapy through Jonathan Otto. Everything changed. Her pain eased, anxiety lifted, and she finally sleeps and feels like herself again. I felt stronger and more energized too. Backed by NASA research and FDA cleared, it supports pain relief, inflammation reduction, and recovery. Our setup delivers powerful proven wavelengths for real results at home. Skip expensive clinic visits and invest in your health. And check out myredlight.com and use code NNN for savings today. Check out Red Light Therapy because taking care of yourself is how you stay in this fight. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what is unfolding because when you see these clips back to back, you will understand why the establishment media is in full panic mode tonight. Mike Davis has been predicting this moment for 3.5 years, and now, well, he's being vindicated. Mike Davis from the Article 3 Project just went on with Laura Ingraham, and what he revealed about Comey, about the Mar-a-Lago raid, about the real reason they went after Trump's documents. Folks, this man has been sounding the alarm since day one. Now listen carefully to what he says about the greatest scandal in American history. Watch.
All right, former FBI Director James Comey subpoenaed in a sweeping probe into what Trump allies are calling a grand conspiracy, a coordinated effort to take down a sitting president before he ever took office. Now, at the center of it all, the 2016 campaign and that 2017 intel report on Russian interference, a report critics say was tainted from the start by the now discredited Steele dossier and political bias at the highest levels. For years, Comey positioned himself, as you recall, as the guardian of the rule of law, standing among the velvet curtains. But the question is, was he part of an illegal political operation dressed up as legitimate intelligence gathering? Here for his thoughts on this, Mike Davis, founder and president of the Article 3 Project. Mike, I bet your response is going to be, what took so long?
Well, we've been talking about this on your show many times, Laura, for over 3.5 years since the Mar-a-Lago raid. And it's very clear that these lawfare Democrats politicized and weaponized our law enforcement and intel agencies to take out presidential candidate Donald Trump with Crossfire Hurricane. When they failed to do that, they tried to sabotage his presidency. They rigged and stole the 2020 election, and when he declassified Crossfire Hurricane before he left office and took his copy of his presidential records, they did the Mar-a-Lago raid to cover up this conspiracy. If this conspiracy ends up being true, which I suspect it will, this is the greatest scandal in America.
Well, Mike, remember the first time the Trump administration tried to pursue a case against Comey was back in November, but the case was dismissed because that federal judge ruled that prosecutor Lindsay Halligan was unlawfully appointed to her DOJ position, essentially saying that she had no experience. And I've never heard of a judge saying a prosecutor couldn't be hired or put in place, but nevertheless, that's what happened. And everyone thought that was going to be it, that Trump's, Justice Department was going to say, okay, this is not going to go on.
I have very publicly called for a grand jury in the Southern District of Florida in the Fort Pierce division for over 3.5 years because that's where the Mar-a-Lago raid happens. That is how these lawfare Democrats try to cover up this conspiracy, which continues the conspiracy. My friend Jason Redding Quinones is the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. He comes from a family of Cuban refugees, a family that knows very personally the dangers of a politicized and weaponized government against its people. So Jason is bold, he's fearless, he's going to get to the truth.
Well, I can't remember which media outlet, but the title of the piece tonight was Trump ally prosecutor. And so they're already tainting the prosecutor because I guess he was appointed by Trump, or maybe they don't like the fact that he's Cuban these days. Who knows? Mike, this will be very interesting. And you were the perfect guest tonight. Thank you so much.
Did you catch that? Mike Davis laid it all out. Crossfire hurricane to sabotage candidate Trump. When that failed, they tried to destroy his presidency. And then they rigged 2020. And when Trump declassified the evidence before leaving office, that's why they raided Mar-a-Lago, to cover up the conspiracy. Never about classified documents. It was about hiding their crimes. But here's where it gets even bigger. Because wait until you hear how many people are caught up in this entire scandal. 130 subpoenas. Not one, not 10, 130. And here is the key detail everyone's missing. This is happening in the Southern District of Florida. Not D.C., not Virginia. I'm talking about Florida. Watch this.
To some news that has broken since we've been on the air. Axios reporting that former director of the FBI, Jim Comey, has been subpoenaed in a wide-ranging grand conspiracy case against the ex-officials who investigated and some who would go on to prosecute Donald Trump. That's according to two sources with knowledge of that situation. The subpoena for Jim Comey was reportedly issued last week and relates to his alleged role in the drafting of a January 2017 intelligence community assessment concerning Russia's election interference that favored Donald Trump. This so-called grand conspiracy case is based in the Southern District of Florida.
A grand conspiracy case against ex-officials who investigated and prosecuted Donald Trump. That January 2017 intelligence assessment that they used to justify everything, built on the discredited Steele dossier, built on lies. And now Judge Cannon in Florida is pulling the whole thing apart. Now I want you to see something that should make your blood boil. Comey, in his own words, yes, this is James Comey, bragging about how he exploited the chaos of a new administration to ambush Michael Flynn. And he admits they would not have gotten away with it under Bush or Obama. He sent agents in without going through the proper channels on purpose. Now listen to his confession.
You look at this White House now, and it's hard to imagine two FBI agents ending up in the sit room. How did that happen?
I sent them. Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration, in the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration. The protocol, two men that all of us have perhaps increased appreciation for over the last 2 years. And in both of those administrations, there was process. And so if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought, it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over. And so we placed a call to Flynn, said, hey, we're sending a couple guys over. Hope you'll talk to them. He said, sure. Nobody else was there. They interviewed him in a conference room at the White House Situation Room, and he lied to them. And that's what he's now pled guilty to.
What did he think they were coming over there for?
I don't think he knew. No, we didn't tell him. Just said, sending over a couple of agents. I want to ask you some questions. I didn't have this conversation, my deputy director did, but hope you got a few minutes you can sit down and talk to them. And he said, sure.
He's laughing about it. Quote, I sent them. Something we wouldn't have gotten away with in a more organized administration. He admits they ambushed Flynn, didn't tell him what it was about, let him set up in the White House Situation Room, and then had the audacity to call Flynn a liar when they were the ones running an illegal operation. This is it, folks. This is the moment everything changes. So connect the dots with me. Comey admits to ambushing Flynn. The intelligence assessment was built on the fake SEAL dossier. They raided Mar-a-Lago to hide the declassified evidence, and now 130 subpoenas from a Florida court where D.C. corruption can't protect them. Mike Davis called this the greatest scandal in American history, and he's right. See, it's not just about holding Comey accountable. This is about dismantling the entire apparatus that tried to overthrow a duly elected president. And Donald Trump is finally getting justice. So, folks, we're witnessing history from right here at the White House. The people who weaponize our institutions, who lied to FISA courts, who spied on American citizens, who tried to destroy Donald Trump, they're finally being held accountable. This is why you can never stop fighting. This is why your voice matters. So share this video right now. Everyone needs to see what's happening. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, because the next few weeks are going to be explosive. The deep state thought they were untouchable. Well, they were wrong. Stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, stay free. I'm Gary Franchi reporting from the White House. God bless you, and God bless America.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this. Share this now.